Hello, Internet. This is Justin Freed, and this is the Tech Podcast inThirty. I've done some very difficult mathematical calculations, and I've determined that this is, in fact, episode 167. So, if you divide that in half real quick, Heim time, what does that put us at hours-wise?
70, 83 and a
83
half.
83 and a half hours of inThirty are out there somewhere for you to listen to. Okay, that was Heim Cohen of HeimTime.com. Paul
Hello.
N. Shapiro of SearchWilderness.com is with us, and he's
Yes.
Paul. How many hours do you think you've put in
To what?
to inThirty?
33 hours, because he started at episode 100.
Very good, Heim. Okay,
Well, I want to do a top of the show PR for next week. If you don't know how to shave next week, you're doing No Shave November, and you're wanting to know how to start a new shaving algorithm or path or whatever, we have the guy from the Sharpologist. He's going to teach you how to use a double-edged razor next week.
Yes, and that is not just a figure of speech. Heim is talking about an actual physical double-edged razor. Correct, Heim?
He's going to tell. Yes, he is very popular on YouTube. The video is already up on the inThirty site if you actually want to see it. But if you're an audio person, you will get it next week while we won't be recording, so we can have time for the holiday.
Okay, and Lady Gaga will be joining Heim on that episode to discuss how to shave her nether regions. True, Heim?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, that'll be a popular segment. Okay, so for episode 167, Heim Time has it in his Heim Time head that the tablet is over, and I've got some context for this. We'll go to Paul after Heim tells us why the tablet is just a really fancy cutting board all of a sudden. Is that right, Heim?
Well, what can you remember the episode number where we said it's a post-PC era? I'm going to put it on the spot. But we did a show, I don't know, 2.5 years ago. Sound about right? 3 years ago?
It literally was difficult for me to determine what episode number this was. So the idea that I could pinpoint an episode number from the past is just not gonna fly.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, so we said that, you know what? After the hugely success of the iPad, we said, hey, look, everyone's using an iPad. We all had iPads. We were all seeing people getting iPads. We were seeing people doing work. And then slowly but surely, and I don't know if you've noticed this, and I have personal stories, people are moving away. People are saying, you know what, I need something more. And my iPad is now 2.5, 3 years old, and you know what? I'm gravitating back towards the computer. I just need a little more. And our school is going through that with the question of, do we buy iPads or do we buy something else? And the answer was something else. LA School District, same thing. They went to the iPads, and then before they put the purchase order in or before delivery, they scrapped the whole thing and went with something else.
So maybe tablets wasn't the right mechanism for school children. I can see that easily being the case. I wouldn't go as far as to say that the tablet is dead or that it's on its way out. Just because.
Paul, give us some link beatness that we're allowed a little bit. The tablet is dead, everyone. That is what
the tablet is dead.
Yes.
All right.
How about 22 reasons why the tablet is dead? You won't believe what number one is.
Okay.
So, well, look.
What's number one?
Yes. Well, I don't know, but I'm an education person, and we're finding out that hand a kid an iPad, and they're gonna gravitate towards not doing their work. And maybe because I'm in a high school, or there could be a million different reasons.
Bad investment. Wrong piece of technology for
and that's exactly right. And so, but if you're lying down in bed and you want to read something, or not read, but browse something, then maybe it is. So maybe instead of everyone having, so it's just, I think people now are starting to see, you know what, I thought I can do work on this, and now they're moving away from it. And maybe the MacBook Air is the right device. I don't know.
So I've stopped using my tablet.
Wait, so you're telling me that I'm wrong and you stopped using your tablet?
No. But there's a rationale behind it. I've stopped using my tablet because my commuting situation has changed. I'm no longer sitting on a train going into New York City where I can use my tablet. I'm driving. So there's less of an opportunity for me to use a tablet. that's nothing to say. It's not because of the technology, or it just doesn't fit into my world as well as it used to anymore.
So when you
And
come
I don't,
home, when you
yeah,
come home, okay, what do you gravitate towards? What's the first thing?
whatever's charged.
Yeah, your millennial generation has this problem of like plugging things in. Like it's beyond. We bought your girlfriend a battery pack, but the problem has one design flaw. You have to remember to charge it.
Yeah, I bought one too, and then she lost mine, but that's another
So
story.
lose, but okay, assuming both were charged, sitting together, and I don't know which one do you gravitate towards.
Probably my tablet.
See, I used to say that, and now I'm reaching for my Chromebook because for me it's almost that little bit like, okay, I want to do this, but you know what? I may want to do some sort of content creation, and for me, it's the Chromebook and the iPad are equally as fast, and just to tap a little one extra click of that mouse button there or whatever, I end up gravitating towards that.
I touch type on my iPad, so no.
So, do we hear Justin? Justin's muted, but he's going to tell us that we're all wrong and the iPhone 6 Plus is the way to go. No,
I
nothing.
don't. I don't altogether disagree, but I think that there is always a rush to adopt new technology because of its cool factor, and then just like with any other tool, if it doesn't work for your actual work, you end up putting it on the shelf. And I think the iPad is something like that. And the competition for the iPad is not only laptops, it's also televisions. So if you're going to sit in bed and watch Netflix, it's a Kindle or it's a real book or it's a newspaper. And you know what? The software has to be absolutely perfectly killer for people to turn to the iPad away from these other things, and that doesn't always happen.
So, Justin Paul, how many Surface Pro 3s have you seen? Because I've seen a few of them.
You mean besides that event that we went to in Chelsea?
No, that was a Surface. That
Pro
was a
1.
Surface Pro
Just
1.
Surface.
I'm talking specifically.
No, the answer is 0. I've never
No,
seen
None. Yeah.
I've seen 3 people with them, and I go up to them and I say, "Where did you come from?" And they said, "I came from a clunky whatever." They came from a clunky Windows laptop, or they came from an iPad, and I said, "Do you like this?" And all 3 of them have said, "I absolutely love this thing."
Okay, the form factor with the kickstand is still incredibly awkward. The keyboard, it just like makes no sense to me because if you're gonna have something that folds over it, you want tactile keys. I don't know what the new one feels like, and I know that they have like a tactile keyboard slash cover also, but I'm not ready to trust Microsoft, and I guess I got to test it out. I don't want to do a lot of circling of stuff on web pages. I don't want to do a lot of drawing on text content on a vertical screen. I just don't really get
So
that.
I asked that. I said, "So what's the biggest feature?" And they said, "You know what? I didn't think that I would love touch as much as I do." You say, "But do you use the stylus?" They go, "Even let's say I didn't. The fact that it's there is really helpful." And they go, "How about this one?" Okay, they go, "I can play games. I can play Crisis on this." I mean, I'm just picking a random game. This does literally everything, and I can use it in any way possible. So I can go home, kick out the kickstand, and have a Bluetooth keyboard and docked right there.
In 5 years' time, certainly the technology will be there to run even the most recent version of Crisis on a wafer-thin tablet-sized device. It doesn't mean that's the best experience. Then we have to think about like Oculus Rift at that point. But it seems to me that it is the result of people using crappy PC laptops that makes the Surface feel good. If you've used a MacBook Pro's touchpad and you get the gestures a little bit and you see how OS X handles scrolling and using 3 fingers to go back and forward, then it's not as much of a leap. And also the other thing is when you disconnect the keyboard and you just want to hold it in bed or hold it on a train or something, where do you keep it? I mean, do people lose the keyboards? I'd have to do a lot more experimentation with it than.
Well, okay, let me ask you this. I mean, how many people? Let's change the question. How many people with iPads do you see that have a clamshell keyboard attachment?
I don't see people using it like that, and it's
I,
there's
I
people
was
that.
I saw a lot when I was commuting into New York.
Where did you see it,
I,
Paul? On the train primarily?
yeah, like almost everyone had it.
So what was the they were using a hard clamshell
Yeah.
keyboard case where
The,
they
the,
could put it on their lap.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It was really common.
Okay. I see it. I see it. The three people that I'm thinking of right now are successful older businessmen who I know they just feel like they don't even like using a computer in their offices. They don't like sitting down a lot. And when they send me emails, and it's amazing how the commonality among these three guys, only in their communication style, their businesses are totally different. One is is really high up in the nonprofit world. One is an accounting business advisor, and one is a lawyer. And they are all really quick on their email. Okay, they feel like a phone. They have iPhones. All three of them have iPhones, but they don't use email on it. They send tons and tons of emails on their iPads, and what they've effectively come down to is they don't deal with attachments. They don't deal with any of that so much. They don't care if they're making a mistake using the iPad keyboard. They just want the quickness of it. They want the access to it, and they want to be able to see it a little bit bigger than on a phone. And they're happy with that, and they want to see their calendar in that screen size. They want to see, if someone's going to send them pictures via email, even if they're not going to attach them to a new email, that's the screen size they want. And the phone is too small for them, and the tablet works. And they're never going to sit down with a laptop at their desks.
It's for me. Look, I don't know. I think the novelty of the tablet wore off, and now we're saying, okay, if I actually need to do real work, what do I use?
I'm seeing a resurgence of the iPad in the business world, just very much like the scenarios that Justin is describing.
Okay.
In my office, I'm seeing there's a bunch of tablet usage. It's more of like the very senior people.
And which ones? The small minis or
the full-size iPads?
So the question then becomes, if there was that we hear rumor of a Mac Pro, whatever, 12.9 inch or 11.9 inch, I think that, I mean, both my iPad and my wife's iPad, we have an iPad 2. It's getting old. That may be an attractive offer for her, and for me as well, to get the bigger screen. I like big screens. I have a bag to carry it in, and I have a big phone to put in my pocket, so the bigger the screen, the better. So, I can see myself using that.
See, Paul, the other thing that Apple is doing in business, and what they're in there, this is where it makes the most sense, I think. They are attacking business verticals via their collaboration with IBM. And when you build an app for an iPad, this is just because of the form factor, because of touch, it streamlines things in a way that, and it's full screen. The apps are only full screen, one app at a time too. It does something for you where it gets rid of the distractions, and because of the unity of purpose of that app, it tends to be really, really good. So for salespeople, when all they want to do is see sales numbers and sales specs and be able to hand it to a client, it just streamlines things in a way that it's not going to happen even if you run it full screen on any other computer, because it's just the singularity of purpose. And if you're going to do it, and it's going to be for, let's just say, air conditioner repairmen, right? They open up the air conditioner repair app, they take a picture of the serial number of the air conditioner, and all of a sudden, if that business vertical, if IBM has built out the back end where it gives them the full specs of the air conditioner and the best tutorial on how to fix the thing, then it works for pilots, for doctors, for people in advanced financial sectors. It works there as like a vortex, a portal into the business world, maybe in a way that's even better than for entertainment, where the TV still wins out.
You know what? I suspect a big part of it is sort of like the tactile portion where, like, I have an iPad, and now I can pass it on to you. Mm-hmm. Now you have the iPad in your hand.
Exactly. And then going tactile even further, maybe using touch to manipulate things is more natural for a whole bunch of people. Chaim, do some of your students still feel awkward about using a trackpad? I
Look, I give all my students have MacBook Airs for better or worse, and I tell them if you want to bring in a mouse, bring in a mouse. Now, here's the thing: they're coding all day. They're not doing general browsing. They're coding, and for them, a lot of them are starting to bring in mice because they just can't deal with the trackpad in a coding environment.
see.
What are you
So
using a mouse for when you're coding?
that's a good point, Paul.
Well,
I mean,
that's the other issue. But I defer to my King of the Nerds and John Syracusa,
what
and
ID? What I've asked
he
this 10 times.
codes and he does this.
What
He's the
ID are they
best.
using, Heim?
They're using. We're moving towards Android Studio.
Well,
Well, it's IntelliJ or Eclipse. I let them choose.
I, Paul, where are you on the trackpad? I mean, for me, just so you know, it's second nature. I like, it's
I,
there.
I I like the trackpad very
I
much.
think those both are wrong. Like I know, I really do. I think if you look at if you go to the hardcorest of Mac users, a lot of them would probably say I'd rather a mouse.
The
I
reason
use the keyboard more than anything.
Well, I
Anyway,
agree with that. I use the keyboard more than anything else. But when you need the mouse, I much rather when I'm editing a
I
photo or
I
whatever it
only
is.
want a mouse. Only want a mouse when I'm using multiple monitors, and even then, it's not perfect. But I realized the reason I wanted a 15-inch laptop, and what it comes down to, is that I am doing remote sessions all day, and even when I'm doing development on a remote server. So, and if I'm doing that development, I want my specs kind of in on 1/3 of the screen, and then the development environment on 2/3 of the screen. And I can't do that even at a really high resolution on the 13-inch. That's what I want to carry around with me. That's why I went to 15 inches. Um, and you know, the iPhone 6 between the iPhone 6 and my laptop, I'm okay. Like I carry around my Nexus 7 as like a way to keep my toe in the Android pond and for reading PDFs. But the iPad doesn't fit in for me. I'll pop open the screen, and if I need to send emails, I start them a little bit on my phone as a draft. I don't use continuity or handoff or anything yet, and then I always finish them before I send them on the 15-inch screen or the 13-inch screen previously. So for me, the iPad is because where are you going to spend your time? Where if you're going to, we're acknowledging that we're all going to be looking at screens anyway. Where do you spend the most of it? I mean, Heim, where are your eyes? It's not Google Glass.
It's not Google Glass. You know what? I mean, look, it's actually sitting in a desktop environment. I mean, because at work I'm sitting at a desktop. I come back, I have it's either my Chromebook or my iPad. Mainly my Chromebook if the baby doesn't constantly bang on it, and then the laptop upstairs, which we've all said I want to replace with the Retina iMac once I can afford it.
And Paul, what is your where when you're staring at a screen? Which screen are you staring at?
so it's my work laptop.
And on your work laptop, is how much of your personal life and your personal software gets intermingled with your work stuff, or is it just for work?
It gets intermingled a bit.
So the when you're the thing that we're even leaving out here though is when everyone's watching video, where is it at?
TV.
It's a TV, and then Heim.
Well, we're different. I mean, we all three of us say TV, but what I'm getting a
I
lot
don't
of the
say
students are
TV. I don't.
saying
I only whenever I end up
mobile.
watching something on a TV, it is new content, and it's like an event for me now.
It used to be my laptop. It used to be my MacBook Pro, like my personal computer, but it's changed to the TV. Maybe it's because I have like now a nicer TV with like an Xbox attached to it and everything, but it used to be my laptop.
And Hein, isn't TV
I
still a
mean, look, we're a
destination for
little
you?
different.
But isn't the point is
TV's a
that
destination.
who among us now flips through the channels? I don't flip through the channels at
It's
all.
not it's not like broadcast television.
Right. So my point is that when you go sit and you're ready on a couch to watch TV, for me, it's a Netflix movie that I've
Mhm.
thought about like for 25 minutes which Netflix I'm going to watch. I don't watch The Daily Show on the TV. I put it in a little window on my laptop, or if
See,
I'm
but
out.
I do watch on the TV because I DVR everything, and whatever's there, that's what I use.
I DVR nothing. I mean, if Comedy Central isn't going to make it available, on CC.com. And if HBO Go didn't exist, I would not. I just wouldn't. I don't.
But we're in the same boat. We don't really watch TV unless it's there as some sort of distraction.
So the tablet is not dead, but it seems like we can also put this in different terms. It's when you have a lot of disposable income, and I guess all three of us have enough to. It's like it's just like it's out there, it's cool, and you buy one, and now like with the Nexus 7, it's in my bag. Okay, like if you got $500 to throw around, and where you kind of want an iPad, you go drop it on an iPad, you play around. Like that's when you have when you have every device because you have enough money to have all of them. It just kind of creeps up on you like that. Then you have everything. Is that where that's kind of where it sounds like all three of us are coming from? I mean, to put it.
Well, we're coming from there.
Paul, go ahead. No, why?
It's a matter of convenience. It's whatever device works for you at the time. At least that's how I'm seeing it.
But when let's just say that you didn't have enough money for that to be even close to an option. No one, I don't. Where are the poor people with iPads? I think they end up with
not a necessity by any means.
But they end up with $250 laptops that are hand-me-downs or from Best Buy, right? Isn't that what happens?
Sure.
Because like the iPad, it requires an infrastructure to kind of make it work. You've got to have Wi-Fi in your house, or a cellular internet plan for it. No one's entering a lot. Like, even the guys that I'm describing, the three guys that I was talking about earlier, they all have secretaries and they all have multiple support staffs at their businesses. So by the time they're looking at their calendar, they have not entered a single appointment by themselves on that calendar.
I was fully blogging on my iPad at one point.
Interesting.
Where I was like, I got to a point where, well, I guess typing isn't correct because I wasn't feeling the keys, but I had my hand on like the home row and I knew where the keys are without looking at it, and I could type without looking at where my fingers are placing on the screen, and it worked. I would sit on the train and I would commute and I would write something.
I see, and that was because it was only a one plane device. It wasn't a keyboard and a screen. It was a single plane. It took up less room, and you could do it on the commute in a way that would probably even been less comfortable for if you had a keyboard case where you had
absolutely.
Two.
And I used Markdown for formatting. It just worked.
Well, yeah, look, but again, he's like, if you had a keyboard, if you had this, if you had that, and it goes back to, it goes back to...
The point there is that the keyboard would get in the way just at a physical level.
There was no need for it.
And there was no need for it. The results wouldn't have been any better without it. So, but my bet is, if you had an 11-inch MacBook Air, okay, because you would have had to fight with the operating system a little bit before you got into the blogging software, rather than just pressing the home button and touching on the blog, whatever it was, what were you using?
Like drafts, or I think it was.
Okay, so it was another thing because there was no other distraction. You didn't have to manage the operating system at all. It was just the home button and then your apps. Home button and your apps. There was no resizing of windows. There was no minimizing anything. There was no maximizing anything. There was no closing anything. It lets you get to work faster. So it's not even the form factor at that point. It's like the modality of opening the software, and that is what the iPad does well. And it just wouldn't feel right now, culturally, kind of, on a computer, because you want your computer to do more things. But that's what Paul, I think, is getting at. That like, it was physically easier. It was easier software-wise because it was just one touch of the icon. He was there, and the configuration was done only at the beginning. So the tablet still works for that. But Paul, why not the phone? Is the phone not viable? Because
phone
the keyboard
is too small. I would say even like an iPad Mini would be too small. Because now, at this point, like I can't have two hands on an iPad Mini.
So Chaim, would you ever have the presence of mind to be able to blog while commuting on an iPad?
I've done it before while taking the train and having some time to kill. I have done it. I would want a bigger screen. So I still don't get the whole iPad Mini obsession. I think
Well,
that
let's let's look
if
at
you have
what
a 6 Plus and an iPad, you're good.
let's look at what Apple did, and they obviously don't get the iPad Mini either. I mean, there was effectively a non-update, and maybe it doesn't work for a whole bunch of people. And we don't know the sales numbers, but it's not really a price thing. It's only 100. It's $100 different. But it they the iPad felt a little ignored in this round of updates.
Well, they added Touch ID for literally $100 more.
Right.
And
And a gold color option.
yeah, so you might as well, and I kept on saying, you might as well get the biggest. You might as well just go for the iPad Air 2. If you want a tablet, go for the iPad Air 2. If you want a mini, get a bigger iPhone.
So let's think ahead a little bit. What the worst case scenario is for an Apple fanboy type user. They have an Apple Watch, an iPad, a MacBook. Let's just say a MacBook Pro, and an iMac at home. And
I don't think you have both. I think you have one or the other.
Well, there's something to be.
computer.
When I get to my office, okay, I have this 15-inch screen, which is higher resolution than anything in my office. I still sit down at my it's a PC laptop, it's kind of cheap one. It was like $800, and it's hooked up to 2 monitors, and it's just to not have to take it out of my bag, and to not have to plug in. And I have an AC adapter there for it already. To not have to plug anything in. It's not even to not even have to plug it into a dock. There's something to say for that. So that's why you want an iPad, potentially a MacBook Pro, and an iMac if you can throw money. That's just the worst case scenario. And is the scenario that I'm describing, does that make you any more productive? The answer is no. It just makes you have more toys.
And if we're just talking about toys, then absolutely, that's great. But if you're looking to actually get work done, what's the one thing that's going to help you get work done, and versus what's the thing that's going to make you feel better? And I think maybe a 6 Plus and a 15-inch Retina is going to be your answer.
Okay. I mean, I get it. That might.
And we're at 27 minutes, so you got 3 minutes.
All right. I thought my time sense for this episode was a little off then. Okay, so let's let's say what's in our bags now. Okay, so I have my iPhone 6, my Nexus 7 is tucked away in my new 15-inch Retina MacBook Pro, my Moleskine notebook, a couple of pens, a hard drive, a Microsoft mouse. I mean, this is what I carry around with me. And then at my office, I have too many computers to even speak of, frankly, and a collection of LCD monitors that, it looks like it's air traffic control, frankly. So that's my computing life. And I haven't sold my 13-inch MacBook Pro, which still has a place in my heart, frankly. So that's what I carry around with me. I hope no one steals my bag.
Paul?
Work laptop. My cell phone. It's not really in my bag. It's in my pocket, but like my cell phone, my iPhone. Maybe a notepad and a pen.
I think I win this. I have my phone. I have either my Chromebook or my iPad, one or the other, and that's it. And a stamp that says Mr. Cohen, just in case I have to sign something. That's literally it. I do not need anything else.
Wow. No, I am overdoing it. And I have 2 USB keys on chains, like clipped into my bag, and a bunch of, I guess I'm too into it. So is the tablet dead? Certainly not. But it is not the panacea for our digital pains the way Steve Jobs may have thought it was when the iPad first came out. Is it cool, and is there a place for it? Yeah, I will go back to what I've said in previous episodes. That I think for certain tasks, it is actually still the essence of how people want to consume digital content, and it's holding it in their hands. It is on a single plane, and it's touching it. I think for a lot of stuff it works, and beats out the laptop. And it's not dead, Heimtime. I'm sorry.
Okay. Anyway, that's time. So we won't see you next week. We'll be learning how to shave. Other than that, we will see you in 2 weeks.
Yes, and I will not be shaving, guys. I'm not even doing no shave November. I'm just not shaving in November. By the way, Heim, you're like clean shaven. Paul, you're short beard length.
Just remember, No Shave November leads into December beard.
Wow, 2 months is too long. Okay, I hope someone gets their cancer cured though, because I'm not shaving. All right,
Okay. I will
good
talk
night.
to everyone later. Bye.
Bye.